What is up everybody, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Bugatti Chiron Interception Unit. This car actually did end up making a return from the Season 1 Motor Pass in the game. I believe that's when it did come out. I also never actually got to get this vehicle back then anyway, so I'm really happy to see this thing in the game once again. One thing I also do want to point out, by the way, guys, if you might have been wondering if this car is going to be unique, it does look like it will be unique compared to the regular Chiron as well. So upon first glance, you guys are probably going to notice the Carbon Edition if you actually have this vehicle, which by the way is unlocked at level 1000 if you guys were wondering. I would say this car is probably going to be the closest thing you will get to the Interception Unit, and even then this car is going to be unique in its own way as well because it's going to have the purple rims on it. It's also going to be slightly set up differently, plus the entire car is also carbon fiber as well. I also wanted to show how the regular Chiron is going to be different as well. So if I went and customized this vehicle, guys, there's not many things you can do to this car to make it look like the other two. For example, I noticed the biggest difference is going to be the wings as well. Like the wing that's on those Bugattis is not even available on this one. So I would definitely say the Carbon Edition and or the Interception Unit will definitely remain to be insanely rare in the game when it at least comes to the customization of them. Again, guys, all you have to do to get the Carbon Edition though is to hit level 1000, and then I do believe the Interception Unit is probably going to stay in the game. I would not imagine them taking this thing out, so if you do want this thing, it costed me like $2,078,000 or something like that, so it's going to be pretty expensive. If I had to guess, though, I would say most people are probably going to end up buying the Divo, which I really can't blame you on. That car is honestly insanely good. But I do want to see how this car is going to be different than the regular Chiron. I would say the overall look of this thing is going to be pretty unique, but when it comes to being an actual interception unit, if I had to guess, the only lights on this thing are probably going to be on the top. But overall, guys, I would say even with this car being upgraded visually, even if it might not perform that great, I really do like the look of this thing. That wing really does fit this car nicely, plus the body kit and like the livery setup on this car does look really good, which by the way, if you guys did want to, you can also change that on the vehicle as well, but I'll probably end up leaving mine stock. I would actually like the fact of being able to color the rims similar to the Carbon Edition, but to be honest, I would say this car is going to be pretty sweet, and I'm really happy to see older vehicles returning into the game, especially if many players did miss them, including myself. So now taking an outside look of the interception unit here, I would say this car definitely looks really awesome in the light. My goodness, I really do love the detail of that body kit on this car. Like, it honestly does look really good. Also, guys, turning the lights on again, it's only going to be the top, and I was actually wrong, by the way. It's going to be the front of the Bugatti as well, so that definitely tells you if I had this vehicle before. Nonetheless, though, I'm really happy the lights on the front of the car actually work. I have noticed some of the vehicles in the game only have the lights on the top, so that does kind of ruin them in a way, but overall I would say this car definitely looks pretty dope. And then when it comes to the interior view of the Bugatti as well, I would say it's probably going to be what many players most likely expected. I mean, this thing has a lot of carbon fiber in it, and to be honest, there's really not a ton of detail to it. But now let's go see what the top speed of the Chiron actually is, which to be honest I really did want to test this out because I have actually never really used the regular one in the game either. I feel like many players are most likely going to buy the Divo because that car really has basically remained one of the best cars in the game. Even to this day I would still say that car is going to be insanely good. Then obviously we have the Super Sport 300 Plus, which kind of broke the hyperclass in some ways, but even then a lot of the cars still seem to be pretty good. I would say one of the biggest setbacks of the hypercars are probably going to be their stability. I'll jump more into that here in the race in a quick second, guys, but let's see what this car can get to. So first impressions of the handling, because again I never actually drove this car back in the day, so I would say the handling does seem to be pretty decent. It's honestly what I would expect from a Bugatti, and after I did buy the Chiron, which I do believe was actually my first hypercar I bought in the game when I first started playing, and I was not a huge fan of that car. I kind of bought it because I love Bugattis in general, but let's see here. Wow, look at that. So 316 miles an hour is going to be the top speed. So it's going to put it basically like 3 miles an hour slower than the Bugatti Divo. So this thing's going to be insanely quick, guys. One of the biggest things though is how is this car going to actually handle? Because I would say one of the biggest issues with the hypercars are going to be their stability. So from the driving I have done with the Interception unit so far, I would almost bet that this car is probably going to be more of a collector's item on the Crew 2. The main reason why I say that, guys, I feel like a lot of players are not going to drive this vehicle over like the Divo, and the main reason why I say that is I still feel like the Divo is going to be a little bit better. One of the biggest things I noticed from my overall like first impressions of this Bugatti is probably going to be the fact that it still has pretty twitchy handling, but then again, most of the Bugattis in the game unfortunately have this issue. I'm sure many players have probably been experimenting with different cars in the hypercar category because of this. For example, I have been running the Porsche 918 Spyder Silvery Edition pretty often. I have been noticing that cars tends to have really good stability at higher speeds. One thing I was noticing though is the fact that the Bugattis love to lose themselves over like the littlest bump, or maybe you guys go over like a hill or a curb or something, the car will end up getting twitchy and or want to spin out. I have been noticing this very often with these cars, and I feel like that's one of their biggest downfalls, but even with that, they're still going to be some of the best cars to use in the hypercar class, and despite many of the Bugattis having that stability issue at speed, I still feel like many players are still going to use them, which I honestly can't blame you. For example, the Supersport 300 Plus can basically be used on everything. All you actually have to do with that car is basically lower the gearbox. You can then jump into most of the events in the summits and compete with some of the better handling cars. I would say one of the best handling cars in the hypercar class is probably going to be the KTM Expo GTX. Even then though, the Bugatti is going to have better overall speed, so that car still might fall behind. Funnily enough, I haven't really used a Bugatti in a pretty long time. The main reason for that though, guys, I've been trying to test out these other vehicles in the game to really see what they can do. One of the cars I have been using recently pretty often is going to be the Porsche 918 Spyder Silvery Edition. This car is actually currently available in the Motor Pass, and I would recommend giving this thing a shot. It's kind of funny because after driving that car then jumping into the Interception unit, you can definitely see some differences with the cars at higher speeds on how they handle. I had a lot more confidence in that Porsche than I did with the Interception unit. Don't get me wrong, guys, Bugattis are not going to be terrible cars in any way. I just feel like some of the other cars are going to be better in other ways as well. But from the testing I have done with the Interception unit, I would honestly say this car is probably going to be more of like a collector's type of vehicle. I personally don't think many people are going to use this car over like the Divo. I just really don't think that's going to be the case. I personally haven't used one of the Chirons since I actually bought the regular one. And even the one you guys unlock at level 1000 as well, I haven't even used that one either. But with that being said, I would still say the Interception unit is going to be a pretty unique vehicle in the game. And not only that, I would say many players are probably going to pick this thing up because they most likely didn't get a chance to have this thing back in the day. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the Bugattis in general. Which one is your favorite? What are some things you don't like about them? I do want to know what you guys think in the comments below, but besides that, here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.